Welcome to the Renegade Nutrition Podcast, where we discuss all things wellness.
I'm Eleni Welch, nutritionist.
And I'm Kay Boyer, health enthusiast. Welcome back, Renegades.
Welcome, Renegades.
Welcome. Today we have a highly successful man in the house. We're going to bring in some masculine energy here to help our listeners and our men listeners. We got this one's for you guys. We're really going to help you out. Normally we do a lot more female-oriented stuff, but today we got our men kind of hooked up here.
Yeah, so welcome to the podcast, Marc Perry. Marc is the founder and CEO and head coach at his company, BuiltLean. And you have quite the impressive resume here, Marc. So you were a Yale University graduate.
Woo-wee.
Woohoo! And you have a decade's worth of experience in transforming 10,000 plus lives with your BuiltLean program, and you mostly work with men over 40, successful businessmen who I'm guessing the majority of your clients, if I had to take a guess, have spent a lot of time on their careers and very little time on their health. And so I think you're helping those men. I think if I hit the nail on the head there, you're helping those men prioritize their health and maybe transform their bodies in a way that they've always wanted, but never known where to get started. And you've had quite a bit of success with your program. So you have had an impressive 70 million visitors to your website since 2010. So obviously, this is a topic that has some traction that people are interested in.
This is definitely an interesting topic.
So we're excited to dive into it with you today. But first of all, just welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for you both having me. I'm a huge fan of what you guys are doing, and I'm really grateful to be here.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, this is incredible. And Eleni and I love to know kind of the backstory of why a person gets into health. So tell us your journey and what got you to do what you're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, kind of growing up, I was pretty into, athletics and sports, like a lot of people growing up. And then I actually went to college. I played lacrosse in college. And so I was like super fit, college athlete.
Yeah.
Really into like training, and nutrition was, I just wanted to get huge, right? Like,
Yeah.
that was my goal. And then, after leaving college, I went to kind of Wall Street. I started doing, sitting in a all day long at a desk, and it was just such a radical change, right? Basically, you're out and about all day long as a college person, college athlete, and all of a sudden you're sitting down at a computer all day long, and that transition was tough because like all of a sudden my weight started like going up.
Yeah.
And at first it was like muscle building gone wrong. I'm like, oh, I'm just getting huge. I'm getting really muscular. And then I literally gained over 30 pounds. I ended up getting up to 200 pounds. Wow. And I was like 165 pounds in college. And so basically that transition, on Wall Street doing as a financial analyst, I really started to understand like, okay, what is this like? What's this urban, and I was in New York City, like what's this urban lifestyle like? And long story short, I ended up transforming my body. I got back to more efficient workouts, changed my eating habits, changed my drinking. I was doing quite a bit of drinking as well. And after that, within a few years, I was like, man, like I think I could do this. Like I'm really passionate about health and fitness. And I ended up working out with my brother. My brother started working out with me, and he dropped like 20 pounds. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a second, like this is something I can do for the rest of my life. And I made the bold decision. It seemed like financial suicide at the time. You come up with like super like I don't know, like dramatic words.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I've got to just do something else. And I ended up becoming a personal trainer. Like I traded my Xenia suits for, sweats, and started training people in their gyms. And it was almost like an identity change. So I had to shift out, and I helped people, like help my friends. And then all of a sudden I started a personal blog. So I started a personal training practice, then a blog called BuiltLean, and the rest is history. I started posting articles. We started getting hundreds of thousands of visitors to the website, and it's become one of the most popular fitness websites, particularly for busy professional men who want to get leaner and healthier.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah. I'm curious,
amazing.
was there like a moment, a definitive moment that you were, muddling along in this amazing Wall Street job,
Yep.
financial
Flashy.
analyst.
Yep.
But was there a moment that you were like, I cannot do this anymore? It's time to make a shift. Like, I don't feel good. Was there or was it gradual?
It's a great question. I think it was kind of a combination of both, right? I think in my heart, I was like, I want to create something because I was part of an entrepreneurial society in college and I really wanted to do something entrepreneurial, but yet you get the golden handcuffs. You're like, oh, there's this promise of making all this money. And it's like, you kind of stay there. But overall, and I don't mean it in a negative way. Like, I didn't really want to be like the people who were above me, or I didn't want to be like them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to be like these zany, interesting entrepreneurs who are doing cool stuff. So that was a big part of it, is I just didn't want to be that person. Even though I was around the masters of the universe, we're talking insane wealth, guys, beyond what most people have seen. I was in Greenwich, Connecticut, where we're talking insane wealth. But anyways, I didn't want to be that. And that was a huge thing. And then also I ended up, right before leaving my financial career, I ended up doing a couple of interviews at some top hedge funds. We're talking what everyone wants to work at. And these guys, I had interviews with, were not happy people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They were not, as in, it was let's just say that they were not happy.
Yeah, money isn't everything.
You could feel it. There's something deeply off.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, it's time. And I thought about myself getting that sort of job and how unhappy and unfulfilled I'd be. And I was just like, that's it.
Wow. Yeah. And I can tell now that you're fully living your dharma. You glow with energy and happiness and purpose. And that's really cool because you obviously have the go-getter personality. And for you to follow your light is just really neat how that, you jumped off from all that cliff from success, but you're way happier and brighter. Just really cool. So
thank you.
Gosh.
Yeah. And it is such a eye-opening principle, I think, that truly money isn't everything. And I think a lot of us from a business standpoint look at people who are professionals in those industries who are very highly successful and accomplished, and you think, okay, if I reach that level, then I'll be happy.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stress that comes with a job like that. I mean, even higher up in any company is my husband is working at a large company, and you look at the CFO of that company, or they're taking calls and on meetings while they're on their vacations.
Yep, no freedom. Yep.
There's no freedom. I'm I would rather be kind of lowly surf here in the system and be happy with what I'm doing, and not even for us, the podcast, it's not it's making any money, but gosh, I'm sure happy to do it every single day. So I would take my health and happiness over financial wealth anytime.
Absolutely. And that quote that I always say in the podcast a lot is that, what is it? A healthy man has 1,000 dreams and a sick man has one. Right. So anyway, the idea of that, that health is kind of paramount, and freedom as well. And so good. All of our listeners, money ain't everything, guys. Money ain't everything. Good. Okay. So now I'm interested. So when you started changing from your business body and now being fit and built lean, what were some principles that you noticed were oh, this is something I could share with clients that could help them? Or did you discover it on your own? Did you take classes? How did you find that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I have 10 certifications at this point. There's continuing education every kind of year or two. So I'm constantly educating myself. I'm reading tons of books. I love learning, right? I love this stuff. I live in Santa Monica now. There's all sorts of health and wellness events coming. And so, it's a combination of both, really, right? It's my own experience and observation, and also my education. And I think the insights into that urban professional lifestyle, and what it's like, because some advice out there is just totally doesn't work for a dude.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It just doesn't. It just completely doesn't work. It's it's bro speak. You got to change the whole, language and communication. And so for me, one kind of big, or a few, one is go-to meals. Keep it simple. Let's get some go-to meals. Let's lock it in. You don't have to think about it. Get it on autopilot.
Yep.
Yeah.
That tends to be really, really powerful. And once guys really get behind that and they find something that hits the spot, that's nutritious, that's filling, all of a sudden they're wow, this isn't that hard.
Right.
This isn't a stressful enjoyable. It's not miserable. Also, something that we've instituted in the last few years is generally we don't do snacks. We tend not to do snacks, and especially during our program, the reason why is it prevents the mindless snacking, and it's a game changer.
Yeah.
And I start to look at research like Harvard has out about the increase in calorie consumptions from in between meal eating. And so it's just that's a whole interesting topic. But anyways, I think just those two alone can really help people. And then I just say a third, just to kind of talk about it, is as a coach, setting a clear target, a clear outcome, and really deciding the reasons why it's important. Like that's actually like the linchpin of everything. Like without that, it's hard to get everything else structured in order, so to speak.
I totally agree with that. Can you dive into that topic a little bit more? The power of setting a why, like beyond just, hey, I want to look good, which is like a good reason too.
Legit,
But usually there's a lot, if we do some digging with our clients, right? I do this with my nutrition clients as well, like getting into the more powerful why. Can you talk about how you bring your clients through that, how you help them uncover their why, and like the power you've seen that have?
Oh my gosh. That is like the magic behind what we do. It's like some people are like, well, how can you help guys who've been struggling their whole freaking life all of a sudden transform and lose 30, whatever pounds, 50 pounds?
Yeah.
Well, part of it is getting clear on that goal and the why and having them look at it all the time. So we actually have them ideally look at it every day.
Yeah.
So it's like a daily reminder, almost like a daily affirmation as to, okay, this is why I'm doing it. This is why it's important to me. And so creating those reasons has been an evolution. And so we actually have gotten it down to a freaking science because we've been doing it for so long, where we literally have like sentences that guys can like fill in. And it's powerful. So for example, I am a positive example for my family as a fit and healthy man who is active and exercises regularly. I feel better in my 50s than I did in my 40s with peak health and vitality. Every healthy meal I eat and every workout I do improves my mental edge and strength. So I can keep on going, and so we literally have 5 reasons, but I'm giving you an example. And this is way more powerful than, I want to be healthy for my kids. Like that's not gonna get people, that's not gonna get the blood flowing. That's not gonna create an emotional, it's gotta be really emotional. And here's an interesting one, like people, it's pain pleasure, right? That's why people kind of do what they do. That's one of the guiding forces of human behavior. Well, the days of me not taking my health seriously are gone. Now I am focused on having a systematic way of improving my health and well-being. And so I can keep on going on, but
this is good stuff. It's incredible.
We have like specific sentences or phrases that guys fill in with their own keywords.
Yep.
Is it healthy? Is it nutritious? Because those are different. Like, is it like unprocessed? So guys create their own words. Each, as you know, words are so important. They've got to feel good for that man. And that's how it's all structured. Sorry, that's a long answer to your question.
No,
it's
amazing. Fire away.
That's like the crux of it.
Yeah.
Without the why, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love it. Where do you have them read the sentence? Is it on paper, on their phone reminder, or where is it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So this has been an evolution, as I said. So we used to do this actually, I used to do it through a call, and then I would like tease it out. And now we've got it structured so they can fill it in, but they print it out and see it every day. And ideally, some of these guys print it out in multiple places.
Yeah. Incredible. And knowing all the work of I do a lot of self-help books and things like that. And that feels right of to change a lot of our behavior is subconscious and our beliefs, right? And so then if we can change, it's everything. And if you every day can put in that new programming of the positive, then you can kind of override that negative subconscious beliefs that you would have. So that's incredible.
Yeah. And I always think it can be kind of annoying to my clients, but we'll sit down and I'll be like, okay, well, what's your goal? And let's just say it's to lose weight. Okay, so, I want to lose weight. Why? Well, because I want to be healthier. Why? Like,
Yeah.
do you know people have these like
Why?
autopilot answers in their brain
Yeah.
that have no meaning because they've just heard like, I should be healthier. And it's
Yeah.
not really what's at the root of it. So it's like, well, I want to be healthier. Why? Well, because I want to live longer. Why? Well, because now it starts getting into it because I want to
Yes.
be there for my kids. Oh, okay. What does that look like for you? Well, I want to be able to help raise my grandchildren. I want to be able to go to my grandkids' sporting events. I want to be able to get like up and down off the floor and play with my grandkids. I don't want to be like a burden to my children as I get older. I want to be healthy. And so then when you start getting into those things, it's so much more
Yes.
powerful.
Yes.
Then it's like the message they have is, I want to be there to go to my grandkids' sporting events. I want them to know me as like this engaged grandparent. I want to go hiking with them. Like, you start creating that imagery that people can look forward to. And then all of a sudden it's a lot easier to stay on track with those dietary changes because it's not just you sacrificing your health, it's you sacrificing this beautiful future that you've kind of painted for yourself and desired for yourself. And all of those things are so attainable. Like, anybody could have that future if they wanted to and if they worked towards it. So I love that. Like, I could have an entire episode about the power of why with you. I think.
Yep.
Easily.
Yes.
Easily.
Now, and since you're more masculine, since you mostly do clients that are men, I love that you're kind of letting men have this power too of like, hey, like lean into your masculine, like go be strong, like be there for your kids. I really like this energy, and like men having a mentor out there, I just think it's the coolest thing ever. So yeah.
Now, you help your clients lose weight fairly quickly. What are some of the key things that you implement in your programs that you found have success for people who have been struggling to lose weight, who have kind of maybe yo-yo dieted? Like, I don't even really love the term diet because it just implies something temporary. Like, what are the things you found that really create that foundational change to allow people to lose that amount of weight in a short period of time?
Right. And so, we're not like doing like 30 pounds in 30 days. We're not like that intense, right?
Yeah.
We're like shooting for like 10, 15 pounds in 12 weeks. So it's not crazy. Like, it's doable,
Yeah.
I think, for most guys. And in fact, I actually think it's better to lose slower. Actually, that's something we emphasize because if it's fast, it's going to rubber band back, like boom, so fast. So we're really like slow and steady. So I think I mentioned one thing is that creating a specific goal. So it's not just a goal, like I want to lose weight. Like, okay, you can lose weight by the time we finish this conversation, you've lost a tiny, tiny little bit of weight. It's like, okay, you just hit your goal. So like we create like a specific goal because it empowers the brain to like just achieve it. It's just amazing. So that I think is really, really important, is setting a specific goal where they're excited about it. Like they have to feel good and excited about it. Like, okay, well, you haven't been under this weight in 10 years, but you can actually hit that. Like, is that something that would excite you? And so we do something that's a whole thing in terms of for figuring out the goals, but typically we create a specific goal and it's like a specific deadline, and that makes it feel real, and they can imagine themselves as they're looking at the sheet daily. It's like a visualization type of thing. So that is like, so the visualization, the outcome, the goal, and the why, that's like the first thing. That's like the most important thing in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then from there, I think have a mentality that I think is really important, which is like a chip away mentality. Because typically the yo-yo guys, like they have old patterns from since childhood, probably, right? And so chip away helps them get out of this habit of like pushing or like, attempting to like out exercise a diet, and they just have to just chill and take it step by step. And that philosophy helps people make changes. It's something like literally like we say that all the time to our clients because it's just perpetual. And so in terms of like how our program works, like we do have a weekly group progress call. Not everyone joins, but it's cool because like guys, it's a good place for guys to hang out, and like we talk to each other and to see other guys who are doing well. So there's some guys who are in like week 12 who are like lost 15, 20 pounds. And there's a guy who's just starting, and it's just like a really cool dynamic.
That's awesome.
And it's extremely motivating, right, for someone who's just coming in. And then one last thing, in terms of the awareness, I was just having a conversation with this. It's like, well, how do you help someone change like habits they've had since childhood. How does that work? Like that's not easy, right?
Yeah.
It's like ultimately, and I saw on your website, you use the word empowerment. That's the game, right? Like I've had a personal training practice where it's like, okay, then people start becoming dependent on you. And it's like, oh, in order to exercise, they need like, that's not what we want to do. We want to empower people. So it's like within 12 weeks, it sounds incredible. Like it sounds difficult to believe. Like within 12 weeks, we can help someone shift their mindset, become more aware, and build habits that they can sustain. But that's our goal, is to empower people. Like literally, it's our mission of BuiltLean, is to empower busy professional men who are overweight, out of shape, lack energy, to become lean, strong, and fit for life. And so, anyways, how do we get awareness? Well, in my opinion, it's through simple tracking. Simple tracking. It's powerful because it's like the truth. It's feedback. It's like a mirror into what they're doing, and so they can become aware of it.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yep, that know
Absolutely.
thyself, and really tap into like, oh, this behavior has this outcome. Wow.
Yeah.
And then finding like who you really are, like, oh, this is better for me. This feels better. And really to get in touch with that, how it feels is amazing too. So let me think. So if it's a 12-week program, you're really helping men to get to these goals while staying in their professional career. Is that kind of the goal? Because part of me is, I'm like, are all your clients just going to quit their business jobs and like become a full-time trainer? But you're able to help them while they still are living like their office jobs 9 to 5.
We only have 3 workouts a week for 30 minutes.
Okay, really?
That's the exercise. 3 workouts a week, 30 minutes. The eating, again, is so darn simple. It's ridiculous. It's few go-to meals. Let's lock them in, keep it simple. When you don't have the go-to meals, we have nutrition guidelines for them to follow. So it's like, it's absolutely as like simple and bare bones as you can make it. Where our business is called BuiltLean, not like Built Bloated, right?
Yeah.
So it's like super simple. And a lot of our guys, travel. They've got kids, they have busy travel schedules. Like I'd say almost all of our clients are traveling, some all the time, others not, like, at least a couple times during the program. And so, yeah, it's completely for guys who've got the busy job, and we want it to be sustainable, right? They don't have to like go to an island in order to do this.
Yeah, right. What are some of the key components in your go-to meals? I'm so curious.
I know.
What you
I'm
have
feeling
them
protein. I'm feeling it. Yep.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's interesting. We've customized it more because some men are plant-based, some are even vegan, which is interesting. This is relatively new in the last few years.
Right.
Some are not. And people have different, as you know, dietary preferences. And so, for example, we might have like a breakfast option with like a simple shake, where you can use like a NutriBullet Pro or something like that. Put in some frozen fruits, some nuts, nut butter, and if you have a protein powder, whether it's veggie or whey protein, put in a little bit in there. But it just makes it simple and like filling, because we want to make it filling and simple. If it's not simple, it's not going to be consistent.
Yeah.
That's just an example. It's like, but we want to make it nutrient dense. Sorry, that's important. Nutrient density is key, because that's what makes it more satisfying. And it's got to be a Goldilocks meal, right? It's like, it tastes just right. It tastes really good. It's filling. It's nutritious. And by the way, me personally, someone was asking me, like, I indulge every meal. I love my meals. Like, people are like, oh, you must be like miserable. Like, no, like sometimes I get like super shredded, and I'm like the shredded dude at Muscle Beach. And it's like, I love the food I eat. I enjoy it. And so anyways, the go-to meals for me, like I have like a shake in the morning. It tastes like ice cream. It tastes amazing to me, but it's natural.
Yeah.
It's fruit. It's anyway. So that's an example. I can go into others, but that's an example.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm just, because I'm so curious, what would be like a go-to dinner for you? I want to know.
Okay, so that's an interesting one. So a lot of these guys, like they have wife, kids, busy kind of.
Right, that's what I'm wondering. Like, are they cooking their own separate meals, or are they getting their family to eat this way? And what does that look like?
So that's a great question. Eventually, guys, their whole family starts to change.
Yes.
Because they're different. Listen, everyone, they're different ways of lifestyles. They're different lifestyles. I don't want to like judge, anyone. And so there's a saying like, as goes the father, so goes the family, so to speak. Oftentimes,
Yeah.
not always.
Yeah. Fair.
And so when they start changing, the health of their family starts changing. And so we've definitely had a lot of men who have like, 4 kids, and all of a sudden their whole family's healthier. And just to answer your question, most of the time they're not doing their own thing. Sometimes, but most of the time they're just eating differently, and they're changing their portions, and they're much, 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 much more mindful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like my nutrition clients always, one of the things I always get asked for is like meal plans. And I'm like, I don't meal plan because I like your concept of the go-to meals, because that's essentially what I've done, especially having
go-to is brilliant.
A young daughter. I mean, I'm like, I don't meal plan. I have a protein, like we have a thaw bowl in our fridge. We put the protein into it at the beginning of the week because my husband and I, we have like cow shares from local farmers. We have like chickens, we have beef or pork. We have those things different. Like we buy them in bulk from a farm. So we get like half a cow, half a pig, and then like 20 or so chickens. And so it's just protein. I'm just putting something in the thaw bowl in the refrigerator. And then we always have vegetables. And it's like, I have an Instant Pot and I just use the like steam setting, and we'll steam a side of vegetables to go with it. Like I don't meal plan.
Yep.
I don't think about it. I mean, I understand that could be, maybe somebody could perceive it as boring, but like you, I love my meals. Like I think they're amazing.
Yes.
I think they're delicious. You can make a nice tasty sauce or side to go with it. It doesn't have to be boring, but when it's simple and okay, every week we're going to have broccoli in the fridge. We're going to have beets. We're going to have Brussels sprouts. We're going to have cabbage. We're going to have carrots and celery and onions. Like I know I have all those things around, and I can just vary the side of vegetables with the side of protein. Like it's not hard. So eating healthy is not hard. And I love that idea of, like you use the term autopilot. Like it is just autopilot. At the end of the day, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to look up this crazy complicated recipe. You don't have to spend hours prepping. It could be so fast. I can have dinner ready in 30 minutes or less most nights.
Yes, I agree, because habits don't take any brain power. And to make life easier, don't take brain power. Just do the habit. Yes.
Exactly. And so, as you're saying, most of the guys are eating with their families. We use nutrition guidelines, as you're saying, so we make it simple. As many fibers, veggies as you want. Take it easy with the amount of protein. So it's really a portion type of base thing, and get it on autopilot.
I love it. Okay, so do most of your clients that come, they do that 12-week program, and then do you coach some longer than that? How do you feel like they do after they leave their program? Are they gaining weight back? You know what I'm saying? Like, how does that longevity look after your program?
That's a phenomenal question, because that's like, the hope. And so the hope, and most guys, so we keep up, they've either kept their weight or lost it more. So for example, I've got a podcast set up with a gentleman. He started at 214. So he came to us at 214. He was super scared. He was just terrified.
Yeah.
And now he's at 165.
Wow.
So he ended the program around like 195, and he kept going on his own, is what I'm getting at.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. So the cool thing is, like, a lot of these guys, because we're so into this is a transformational thing, right? We don't want it to be like a Band-Aid on a broken elbow. We want to make it like a transformational thing. And so a lot of the guys, we know, like, we're working with them. We have questions we're asking throughout, and at the end, it's like we know with pretty high certainty, like, is this guy gonna, where is he at? I'm sure that you asked a coaching question. For example, a great coaching question is, from 0 to 10, what is your confidence level that you can sustain your results or improve them? That right there, that question usually gets to the heart of it.
Wow.
Right. And it's like, obviously, like, we do, like, reach out and see how they're doing, but that question's really powerful.
Yeah.
And if someone says 10, they're probably going to keep the results and sustain them.
Yeah. Right. Because usually they're pretty not I don't know if desperate's the right word, but for some people it is that level of like desperation. Like, I can't keep going the way I've been going. Things need to change now, and I'll do whatever it takes to change them.
Yeah. I love you having like support for men out there. I feel like women, we have so many clubs and groups and support. Like women, we are fully connected. If I have a problem, I can, text like 20 women and they're helping me. But I feel like men don't have that. So I think this is really remarkable. And maybe men are responding well to it because they're like, oh my gosh, we need a place to kind of find support. So that's really neat.
Do you have any tips for, you mentioned you're doing 3 30-minute workouts a week. I'm sure you have clients who are starting from completely sedentary. Do you have any tips for men getting into exercising more regularly to help prevent injury? Because I know that's usually a big one. People want to go 0 to 60 and they injure themselves in their first few workouts and then stop working out. So what do you do to get somebody into a workout routine, and how do you keep them from injuring their bodies?
Right. So one is the overexcitement pattern. Someone's like, oh, this is it. I'm super, super excited. Like, let me go out. And so, for example, we had one client who he had a tremendous transformation. His before after photos on our website. He would constantly get injured. Actually, a number of our clients, they literally lived in the physical therapy office, they'd say, because like they'd start exercising, they just get injured. They push it too hard because they think in their minds that their body's going to work like it was when they were 25. But they're like 45 or 50 now. And by the way, if they were conditioned, it could actually work that way. Like, you can reach insane levels of fitness if you're conditioned, but if you're not exercising as much as you were, you're going to hurt yourself. Right?
Yeah, right.
So in terms of philosophies, number one is adjusting that expectation. Slow and steady wins the race. It's just how it is. That might be boring for some people, but when it comes to your physical fitness, it doesn't happen overnight. You don't all of a sudden look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's not how it works. It takes a very slow and progressive type of change. And so how we do it is we have a very slow, progressive workout where it's like you do just one set. It takes 15 minutes. And then the next week you do another set. And then the next week you do another. And so by the time a month is done, you'll have progressed the workouts and done more volume. And then you can add more weight the second month. So progression is the most powerful principle for not only getting someone to get started, but also for continuing to make progress.
Okay. 2 questions with your workout. How are you guys on the cardio train? How do you like that? And then also when you're doing the lifting, my husband would want to know this. Are you like the high weight, low rep, raise your reps, or you have 5x5? What are your reps and weights, and walk through some of that?
Great question. By the way, we have free workouts that I've actually done on YouTube where literally it's like the actual workouts where like it's me walking people through the workout with like a video.
Yes.
And I actually go through some of these workouts we're talking about. We call them strength circuits.
Okay.
And so my philosophy is for guys who are busy and they don't want to be professional athletes, and they're like, we don't need to play around with like heavy barbell deadlifts. And again, I have all sorts of certifications in barbells and kettlebells and all this stuff, but it's like, you don't need that, right? Like, come on, like you're probably going to hurt yourself. And it's not necessary, right? So it's like, okay, well, what do you really want? Well, we want to be conditioned. You want to be flexible. You want to be strong. Well, it's like, well, let's put that into one workout. We're going to get you moving around. And in terms of the rep ranges, like 8 to 12 is pretty good. The thing with going a much lower is the risk of injury increases. So you kind of have to look at your risk reward. And I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine who does what I do is help, men in their 40s, 50s. Like, is it worth the squeeze? Is the juice worth the squeeze? Like, we got to look at the risk reward of everything, of all the exercises. Like barbell deadlifts, all it takes is one little like issue. Like, you could be seriously in pain and have an effed up back.
Yep. After our 40s, we're like, oh, my back. Yeah.
You got to be careful, right? So anyways, I think the risk reward is really important. And just to kind of create a clear structure, typically we'll have 5 exercises for the warm up. It's about 5 minutes. It's dynamic stretching, dynamic warm up. We have 5 exercises as our strength circuit. So it's typically like a leg, push, pull, core, and like plyo maybe. And we'll do that for a few rounds. And then we'll do like a finisher and then a stretch. It all happens within 30 minutes. It's perfect. It's like beautifully timed.
Yeah.
And we want to get guys moving around. Like I even train my parents. I did a virtual training session with my dad. Like I want them to be, healthy. And so, yeah, just like, I guess what I'm saying is I understand like how people age. You know what I'm saying? I've seen that progression. Now I've been doing this for like 20 years or close to it. So my perspective is like, get the body moving, get the cardiovascular, get the flexibility, get the strength benefits. Like it can be done in just 30 minutes.
That's incredible. I was like, okay, I could do that because I used to work out and I'd work out less, but I should work out more. So I'm like maybe being inspired, like I could do this.
Check out one of the workouts.
I will. That's amazing.
Mindset wise, you mentioned something I kind of want to circle back to. You said people in their 40s and 50s, if they're conditioned, can work out like they did at 25. I think that's a bit of a mind shift for people of like, oh, I could potentially be as healthy in my 50s as I was in my 20s. Can you talk a little bit about that and your experience with that? And how do you help clients make that shift? Because I think it's so prevalent in our society. I hate, and not hate's a strong word, but I hate when people say, oh, I'm just getting older, or that's just part of getting older. It's like we're so conditioned that we're supposed to deteriorate and break down as we get older. It's so hard to break my clients out of that. How do you approach that with your clients of like, hey, you can be healthy and fit and feel great well past your 20s. Like it's not all downhill.
Right. No. So by the way, I totally hear you. And that is super important because if that's not addressed, the belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Period. So I call it a mental block, right? There are different ways of describing, but I call it a mental block. Well, it's like, you're just going to feel, crappy as you age, right? You're just going to fall apart. Sometimes I even hear like people around me like, oh, you're just falling apart as you age. I'm like, no. We got to change that belief. And so oftentimes it's just calling them out. I call them out and I'm like, dude, I got
you got a thumbs up.
but I just call them out. I'm like, and then become aware. And I also have a mental block audio as part of our program where I go through a number of different mental blocks, one of them being the age one. And I dive in and dig into it and they can really like meditate on it and like absorb it and internalize it. And then all of a sudden they're like, wow, that's true. And just personally, like I've gotten just this past year, I reached probably my strength peak. I never thought like I've done some crazy strength stuff and fitness stuff. Like I did 100 kettlebell swings with 80 pounds in 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
At 41. I never thought, like, in other words, it's beyond what I ever thought was possible. I'm like, okay, I maxed out at like 70 pounds. That's a lot of weight with one hand. So I was doing one hand 50, and then I did Turkish get-ups for 10 reps. Anyways, my point is like my own fitness has actually been increasing as I get older. And so like I have my own personal experience and plus just people I've met. Like I know for sure it's a matter of conditioning. So if you train, for example, there's a 70-year-old man who's in good condition, like his workout plan it's not going to be based on his age. That's not a thing. Like I've created many different workout programs. Like you don't create a program for someone based on their age. You create it based on their fitness level. A guy who's 70 can crush a guy who's 25 if he's not in good shape. Right. So anyways, I think, again, I'm just giving you examples. Obviously, you guys know this. It's age. Really, listen, there are some physiological changes that happen, but truly when it comes to exercise, it's really just like a number.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wild.
I totally agree. My husband's dad is, I think, 86 now. And
86.
Nobody ever believes us when we say that because he's literally, so my husband and I homestead, we have chickens and we have goats and we keep the goats on their property. So like his dad is out there every day taking care of the goats. He brings them their water. He gets them their hay. He's like out like taking care of his yard. He gardens. He has a little like tiny backyard orchard that he takes care of. He's out there like sawing branches down, pruning the trees. Like he is more active than most 40-year-olds that I know. And his thing that he says is he wants to live to 120.
Yes.
And that's just what he's told himself. Like he's never said to himself like, well, it's all going to be downhill after
Yep.
85. And because he doesn't believe that, because he believes that he can still be healthy and fit and live to 120, his body responds that way. Like, what we tell our body is what it does. So if you're telling your body, like, it's just going to be downhill after 30 and I'm going to get arthritis and I'm going to have joint pain, like, your body is going to respond that way.
It's powerful. And by the way, like I can almost do like a full split in my 40s. It's insane. Like if someone
That
told
is
me
amazing.
like years ago, I'd be like, what are you talking about? That's insane. So I have created the belief that I'm getting more flexible as I get older, and it's freaking happening.
Yes, right. Mindset is everything.
It is everything, is tapping into that. Okay, I was curious about personality. Do you notice a personality that fits well with your program? Like, do you like the go-getters? Do you like the 4 a.m., I'm going to bust the sunrise open kind of people? Or do you let people structure it? Kind of talk personalities and fit with this.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we don't exclude anyone
Okay.
based on their personality. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they're all different types of people. Like,
Yeah.
for example, I was actually mentioned in Tim Ferriss's Tribe of Mentors book by a man named Strauss Zelnick, who mentioned me. He's like recommended me in our program. And so we've gotten some guys who are like Tim Ferriss fans, and they're like pretty structured. But then we have guys who are completely the other end. They're like, no, dude, like I don't want so much like structure, and I don't want to track stuff. Like, relax.
Yes.
Like we really get all spectrum. We get a whole spectrum of people.
I like that.
And we just have to meet them. And the cool thing is, because the program's so simple, it's just easy for people, no matter what the personality.
Yeah, like fit in that half hour anytime in your day is okay.
Yeah, no, it's like a few times a week, just do half an hour. And then in terms of the eating, it's, some guys are more structured than others, but it all works out. I think the simplicity is a winner, right? And it transcends personality.
Yeah, good, because I've got my husband and then my best friend and my sister-in-law they literally get up at 4:30, guys, in the morning and run like 10 miles. And I am like, well, I guess I'm just not going to be fit because I'm fit. But I'm just like, I cannot do that. Like, my brain, I would break if I did that. But I just kind of think that that's more maybe in that masculine energy of that, tear it apart. But I can do it my own way. I can make it work. It's fine.
Absolutely, you can.
Good. We all don't have to be Tim Ferriss's.
No, and I think if we've learned anything from like our circadian rhythm, it's that getting up well before the sun rises isn't necessarily what's best for your circadian rhythm.
Thank
your
you.
adrenals.
9 a.m. club. Here we are.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
But like seeing the sunrise is kind of part of what like evolutionarily we would have done,
Yeah.
So we would have been seeing the sunrise and going to bed with the sunset. Like, we weren't these like burn the candle at both ends people when we were cavemen. So I'm curious, Mark, what are some of the most common self-sabotaging things that people do in this getting fitter, healthier journey? Like, what are the common things that you see that people like, they limit themselves, they sabotage, and how do you get people past those things?
Right. So we're talking about the mental blocks, right? Yes. So I'm just thinking here, like, we've got one is balance, right? So oftentimes people like talk about, I need balance, but it's like their definition of balance makes it impossible to change. Right? So there's self-sabotage there. So the self-sabotage is ultimately from some type of belief that hasn't been changed, right? That's where it comes from, in my perspective. And so I'm just giving you an example of like balanced genetics is another one. Oh, we work with some men who are like, Indian men, for example, like no one in my genetic lineage for the last 1,000 years has ever had a six pack, like hasn't happened. And so like we help people shift that genetic, like a genetic belief. And so what I'm getting at is self-sabotage comes from these deeper beliefs that people have not shifted. But if they shifted those beliefs, then the self-sabotage wouldn't happen. You see what I'm saying? So it's like it's a reaction to it's almost like their subconscious, whatever their beliefs prevent them from making changes. And that's what sabotage comes in. And so that's why I was so big on the mental blocks and why we have an audio that goes into them and we give it to them to listen to.
Yeah.
Those limiting beliefs, it's all subconscious, guys.
Yeah.
Wild.
Are there like motivational techniques you use to help people get past some of those barriers? Or what do you do when somebody is just like determined they can't do it? You know?
I give up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like when they're like 6 weeks in, they're like, it's not working.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fortunately, it doesn't happen. Like we nip that in the, like, we got to do that we got to deal with that in the beginning.
Yeah.
Very beginning. Positive reinforcement, it's simple, but it's like these guys, I mean, they're not getting a pat on the back. No one's patting them on the back. Right. Like it's almost like, when you're growing up, you're part of a team and it's like fun. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now you're like a dad and you've got all this responsibility. You have a life of responsibilities, right? That's kind of what it feels like for a lot of guys. And it's like, they've never stopped and had someone be like, dude, you're doing a good job. Mm-hmm. Never. So that, I think positive reinforcement is really useful. Being with other guys who are in a similar situation is really useful. And yeah, put it at that. I'll keep it there.
And maybe that community aspect too, that you mentioned. I think community is such a powerful piece of our healing journey, is having others to support us, having others to, like if we're struggling, be able to talk to about that, who have been there and done that. So I like that that's a part of your program as well, because I think that can be very motivational, even from the standpoint of, I'm about to have a meeting with all these other people, so I want to like have my stuff together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I know that you've really found your niche with men in a business lane and kind of above the 40s and 50s. Is there anything you want to say to our female listeners today as well? Like, just to wrap it all in, like maybe like women, they shouldn't have limiting beliefs either, and maybe work with our bodies, or I don't know, touch that quick. You don't have to go too deep in it, but.
Oh, that's a great question, because I'm just thinking about some of the challenges that sometimes our clients have, because like a lot of ladies are not maybe as understanding of the situation as they could be. I don't want to throw any stones here, but it can be a challenge. Like I think some guys, it's like, for example, snacking, it can become an addiction.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like having like these snacky foods around, it can be a challenge, and it's essentially creating a difficult situation. So anyways, I just say, being really understanding of a situation can be really helpful in terms of your husband's situation.
So like what you're getting at there is like maybe a wife doesn't have those issues with having the snack foods around, but her husband does, and she's not necessarily
being like supportive.
We are all different species, right? And it is hard to like see past that. Like, well, I don't have a problem with these being here. Just use more willpower, right?
Yeah.
And exactly. So that's what I meant. That's just one thing that comes to mind, because it's constantly there.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, like if a couple likes to go out together, that can be a little tricky sometimes, and they want to drink. So drinking is, by the way, we didn't even talk about alcohol. Alcohol and snacks, those are the two big ones for men.
Yep. Smart.
Those are the two biggest things.
Yeah. Like empty calories, drinking like crazy. Yeah.
Totally. And it's a pattern, because like when they drink, then everything kind of just falls off. But anyways, in terms of ladies, like so much of this, and as you guys know, like as we're talking, so much of this it's not about me telling people what to do. It's like, oh, you got to do this and this. And we have a structured program. It's like, we recommend following it. But a lot of it is like asking questions and helping people make a change within themselves, because transformation is from within. And by the way, in terms of, as I'm like talking with both of you, I ended up reading a book. I think it was like Where the Girls Are by when I was growing up. And actually, no, it was in college. It was Where the Girls Are. And I started seeing life through a woman's lens. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is really, well, because the way the book is structured, it talks about like culturally, like what women feel. And I was like a dude growing up. I was like a jock. Like I never had that thought. I'm like, I don't know.
I gotta read this book and see if it's even accurate. And I would like the book Where the Boys Are, because I'd like to see the world through the boys' eye, right?
But I think just seeing things differently and imagining and being more empathetic and being more understanding. And so what I'm getting at is, there's so many pressures that guys don't feel. right? Like if like a guy's got a belly, you can like joke around, like poke his belly, and it's like it's funny,
Yeah.
right? But like you obviously would not do that with a lady. Like there's just things that are just
Fair.
so radically different, and
Yeah.
the pressures that women feel. Oh, you have to look this certain way.
Hmm.
Which opens up a massive can of worms. And one of the reasons why I ended up shifting to just men is because like I think women need more support, like emotional support, because it's just there's so much they need to deal with regards to body image that's just so deep and intense.
That's fair.
The body
That's fair.
stuff,
Yeah.
body image stuff is just off the charts
Yeah.
difficult. And there are
Yes.
also so many disordered
Yeah.
eating disorders with women. So I'm like, okay, it's just, in my opinion, it's just so much different because a lot of guys, they don't have that. They
Yeah.
don't, it's not nearly as deep or intense.
Yeah, there's like I remember hearing, I can't remember who I was hearing talk about this, but a powerful woman in the health spectrum was like, you know, with men, we have jokes about like dad bod and silver fox. And so it's like these things of like, oh, if you gain weight, it's like that's dad bod. And
Yeah.
if you go gray, it's silver fox. She was like, what are those things for women?
Yeah,
Like,
they call them like mom bod. We're like,
Yeah.
shut up.
yeah, like we're just not
Exactly.
allowed to age.
Kill someone.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yes,
Yes.
it's like we're literally like not allowed the same amount of grace. Like, and we're the ones having the freaking children.
Yeah,
So like
right,
literally,
right.
there's no
Exactly.
reason like
Right,
for a
right.
man's body to have to change in that process. A woman's body physiologically and hormonally changes during that process, which influences how we gain weight, how we store weight. And so it's just interesting that dichotomy like you're talking about. And I could certainly see being a man, just realizing like, yeah, this isn't going to be where I can have the most impact because I don't know how to like help a woman through these self-image issues that society has created for them. That kind of takes maybe another woman. Like,
Yeah.
because
fair.
for me as a woman, I wouldn't want a man being like, well, this is how you overcome these issues of self-image. I'd be like, well, easy for you to say.
Yeah, like
because
you don't know.
society celebrates you gaining weight and getting gray hair, but society like diminishes women if they don't look like these gorgeous supermodels all the time. We're not allowed to wrinkle either.
Yes.
We just aren't.
Yes, right.
It's sad in a lot of ways, right? Like I hope that can change at some point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I think my sense is it has been slowly evolving and changing, but that's my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too. And I just think all of that to say it's wise for you as a health professional just to realize, hey, this is where I can have the most impact
Yeah.
in helping these men because I've, you as a health professional have made that journey yourself. It's impactful for other men. So yes, I totally understand why you made that decision to work with men.
Yes, I love touching on this subject. I just think it's so interesting, men and women. It's fascinating to me. So it's interesting. And I like that you've picked the men primarily in that 40s and 50s also because you're able to work with a man who has more responsibilities, more maturity, and finding your niche has been really cool there too, I think. So good
Thank
job.
you. Yeah. I appreciate that.
Good. And we're wrapping up on our hour. Let's see here. But is there anything more that you would want to tell our listeners today? Yeah.
Yes, something we haven't covered.
Well, I was gonna say, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate the conversation, and I think your questions are amazing, and I'm hopeful that it will help your listeners. And in terms of finding a little bit more about me, you can check out BuiltLean.com. We've got a lot of really helpful articles and videos that can help with people. And if you're like, hey, you know what, maybe I'd want some coaching, or maybe I could tell my husband or my brother or whatever about it, send them over to BuiltLean.com. You can even tell them to email me at marc@BuiltLean.com, and I'd love to hear from them.
I love it. Do you primarily have the 12-week program is like what they would sign up for? Or then is there also just resources all the time? Or can you do like 6 months of coaching, or what's that?
Yeah, so the website itself has tons of free information. They're really high quality. They're good stuff. And in terms of the 12-week program, we have a breakthrough call where it's a free call where we want to learn more about people because we don't want to just like sell someone something if they're not a good fit, right? Mm-hmm. So we have a completely introductory free coaching session, breakthrough call where we can talk more about the details of how it all works. But typically it's a 12-week program. And that's how we structured it, just because for simplicity.
Yep. Yep.
Focusing on one thing, we've been able to make it really, really good.
Yeah. And then it sounds like people are carrying it like into their lives forward. So that's amazing.
Yeah. I don't know. Have you ever, this is just an interesting thing. The book, Connected, I think it's just called Connected or The Connected, but it's the principle this researcher did like I can't remember how many tens of thousands of people he looked at, but he basically found out through studying people and their personal relationships that each person can influence like up to like is influenced by 10 friends. So if you have, let's say you're a guy, you're sedentary, and you have sedentary friends, and you decide to change your health for the better. You start eating healthier, you start working out regularly, you start taking care of your mental wellness.
Alcohol. Yep.
You influence not just your friends, like your direct friends, but you also influence those friends' friends. Mm-hmm. And not just there, you influence those friends' So there are 3 like levels at which you influence people. So one person making a positive change could influence like your friend, and then they see you, they start eating healthier, they start doing things to take care of their body or their finances or their mental wellness or whatever it is. Then their friends start seeing those changes and making like the same positive changes. And then their friends' start making those positive changes.
The ripple.
So it's a ripple effect. And they found that it goes up to 3 layers like that. So they don't see it go beyond the 3 layers, but they see it go up to 3 layers. And the vice versa is true. So I think too, like, if you are somebody who's making a health journey and you want to be healthier, also finding yourself surrounding by like-minded people is important, because they also found that friends who started smoking, that also went like down the chain, or drinking heavily, that went down the chain, or not taking care of their finances or their mental wellness. So it goes both ways. So just like something too, as people are making this transformative health journey, is remembering, not like you just cut all your friends who don't live like you, I'm not saying that, but finding also the community of people who are like-minded, who are taking care of their health, because those people have a direct influence on you and your health.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's cool. No, it totally makes sense.
Yeah. And why your connection of your groups would be so successful. I think that's really a big part and a key of why yours works as well. Yeah. And I like what you said, lady, with how mental health as well and mental wellness in this. Do you feel like with your clients that, and I'm assuming that as they get more physically fit, maybe you see that mentally they seem to be getting a little bit more well and vibrant as well? Does that kind of go hand in hand with like life satisfaction and health?
100%.
100%. I know, I assumed.
You feel better about yourself, right?
Yep.
You feel better about yourself. And when you feel better about yourself, you treat other people differently and they feel more energetic. And so the North Star of BuiltLean is energy. And that's something that we tell people about. It's like when things feel hectic, what's the North Star? Take actions that help you feel more energetic. And when they do that, the way you treat other people, the way you show up for your family, whatever, it just changes and it's enhanced.
I love it. I love it. And we need to do a podcast on alcohol. I just thought of this too, because not only alcohol is the empty calories, but also how bad it is on your gut. I wanted to throw that in there too, and your brain as well. So I think that's really cool that you've done that in your program.
Well, awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. So, okay. Well, thank you so much for like everything that you've created for the world. Like, I think it's incredible. And I think men, this is a wonderful resource for you as listeners, wives, tell your husbands. And thank you for the work that you've done. I really, really respect all that you've done. And I think it's amazing.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, yep. You bet. Well, to our listeners, thanks for listening.
And go be renegades. Thank you for listening to the Renegade Nutrition Podcast.
Please keep in mind that this podcast is an educational service that provides general health information. The content on this podcast is not a substitute for direct, personal, professional medical care and diagnosis. You should always talk to your doctor before making a dietary or lifestyle change. Go be renegades!
Go be renegades!